Hello, what's up and what's happening? Welcome back for yet another Throwback Thursday video. And today we got some Madden 2004. Man, 2004 is not Mike Vick this time. I know a lot of y'all are getting sick and tired of seeing Mike Vick. So we got, an AFC West clash. We got the Kansas City Chiefs and we have the Oakland Raiders, man. I'm going to just be talking about some random stuff. It's going to be on football. It's going to be about these two teams and stuff like that. But usually I like to take the time on these throwback videos just to talk about something random, not really worry too much about the gameplay. So one thing I want to talk about is the Kansas City Chiefs. And believe it or not, this is something I did not know. But the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't believe, have won a playoff game in like 20 years. In 20 years. They've been plenty of times, but they haven't won a playoff game in like 20 years. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. I'm like, really? 20 years? Like, wow. And if you think about it, right? I believe their last playoff win was when Joe Montana was the quarterback of the Chiefs. They had Marcus Allen in the backfield. They had Derek Thomas coming off of the edge. Neil Smith, playing physical football, Marty Ball style of football. You run the ball, Marcus Allen, like 30 times. And then if Joe Montana needs to make a play down the field, boom, we will rely on him. We're going to try and get that after the passer, yada, yada, yada. Marty Ball, right? So then Joe Montana retires for good. And then I believe they had Elvis Grbac at quarterback. And Elvis Grbac, he was another former 49er that went to the Chiefs. Long list of that going on. But he was a solid quarterback, you know what I mean? But they stuck with Marty Ball. They would run the ball, had Derek Thomas off of the edge, had Neil Smith coming off of the edge at the defensive end in the 3-4 scheme. You know what I mean? So those were like the three. Oh, not the three, but those are the two pass rushers coming off of the edge. And they were freaking good on defense. They had a monster defense back in the mid-90s. That defense was freaking ferocious and nasty. But in 98, I believe they won the division, but that was when the Broncos beat them in the divisional round, went on to beat Pittsburgh in the conference championship game, and go on to win the Super Bowl. This one's for John, that Super Bowl. And I'm like, wow, that was like a phenomenal defense. Like, Derek Thomas is one of the best, if not the best, edge rushers of all time, talent-wise. Stats might not say that, but we all know that his life was cut short. And if he would have stayed in the NFL for 12, 13, 14, 15 years, he probably would have the most sacks in, league history. But the point I'm making is, like, they had a great defense back then, and then they couldn't, get over the fact that their offense at the time really wasn't that dynamic, really wasn't that good. And, of course, you had, the Raiders. They were decent, not the best team, but they were decent. The Broncos, back then, Seattle was in that division. The Chargers back then, they were okay, not the best team by any stretch of the imagination. But then you fast forward to, these Chiefs. They had Trent Green, Priest Holmes, who's a beast. Of course, future Hall of Famer Tony G, but their defense sucked. So it's like they went like a total 180 in the other direction. You know what I mean? First, they had a great defense with Derek Thomas and Neil Smith, you know what I mean? And then they couldn't win the playoff game. And then they had some great years in the early 2000s with Trent Green and Tony G, you know what I mean, Priest Holmes. But that defense was horrible. That defense was bad. And they actually gave up Peyton Manning's first playoff win on the road. Remember, Peyton Manning couldn't win on the road in the playoffs forever. Still has problems doing it. But that was his first playoff win. I believe it was back in 2003. And the Colts came to Kansas City in the playoff round. I believe it was the divisional round again, and beat them. And I was like, man, Chiefs, I believe the Chiefs were like the number 1 and number 2 seed. Behind the Patriots, possibly. So it's just crazy to me, how, this team that I viewed as always good. They have always been a good team in my eyes when it comes to, playing football, getting to the playoffs, having good records. Like, the Chiefs have never been like a sucky team, you know what I mean? And then most recently, they made it to the playoffs when they had Matt Castle at quarterback. They also had Jamal Charles that running back, obviously. And they won their division, but that was a down year. I believe that was Tim Tebow's rookie season, so the Broncos weren't doing too much. The Raiders still ain't doing too much. You know what I mean? The Chargers, they had one of those wacky seasons. That was the year that Philip Rivers, showed that he was human. So Matt Castle led him to the playoffs. Nobody really picked him to beat the Ravens, so that really wasn't a shock. And then last year, of course, Alex Smith, taking them back there and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just shocked that the Chiefs haven't won a playoff game in like forever. They keep going, but they can't get past that hump. And again, last year, Alex Smith, Andrew Luck, it was a fantastic game. And if they don't lose Jamal Charles to a concussion, they probably just ground and pound that clock down and win. And Niles Davis got out of that game too. Niles Davis and Jamal Charles both went down in that game last year in the playoffs. And if they have both of them, they probably win. And the freaking Colts don't, have the second greatest comeback in playoff history. But yeah, whatever. Moving right along though to another thing. Y'all know I'm a Niner fan, but I grew up in the Bay Area, but I grew up in Oakland. I was on the other side of the Bay. So of course, a lot of people are like, you can't do that. I remember playing online, playing Madden online, telling people where I'm from, because hey, bro, where you from? From Oakland. Oh, so you're a Raider fan? I'm like, nah, I'm not a fan. They're like, what? That's stupid. You can't do that. And I'm like, I can't do it because I just did it. But anyways, I'm a Niner fan because my dad was a Niner fan. I believe you root for the team that your mama and your daddy root for. You know what I mean? And he was rooting for the Niners. My mama root for the Niners. My mama was a die-hard Niner fan. Oh my goodness, she loved the Niners. That was it. She ain't watch football, but she watched the Niners. You know what I mean? So the Raiders, they were down in LA, and that's why my dad couldn't stand the Raiders and stand LA, because he moved them from out of Oakland to LA. And that stadium in LA, the Coliseum where USC plays, that's a dump for an NFL stadium. Let's be real, that's a dump. A lot of people want to talk about the Oakland Coliseum as being a dump, fine, whatever, but the USC Trojan Stadium, that's a dump compared to like the Rose Bowl where UCLA plays. I'm just saying. But anyways, right, so you had the Niners. They were up in the Bay Area winning, while the Raiders were down in LA getting a butt swoop like every Sunday. So it was an easy decision. But I've always liked watching the AFC games. I always like watching Raider games because they're in the AFC. And it didn't make sense to me at the time, but looking back at it, I know why. One thing, I hate domes. I hate domes. I hate them. And back in the day, the NFC West, it was the Niners, it was the Falcons, it was the Saints, and the Rams. Falcons, Saints, Rams, and Niners. And back in the 90s, they sucked. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But I hated domes. So whenever the Niners went on the road to play our divisional opponents, we would have to go play in the Superdome. There's nothing wrong with the Superdome. I just don't like football played in the dome. That's just me. I just don't like it. Then the Georgia Dome. You know what I mean? That's a fantastic stadium. It's hosts Super Bowls and all that other stuff. I just don't like it. I like football outside. I like, in December, in late November, you got some weather. It's cold. It's rainy. Stuff like that. I like seeing that. That's what makes football to me. And of course, the Rams, they're still playing in that same dome. I can't stand their home stadium at all. I hate it. I dread it. Like, and I'm sorry to all of my St. Louis Rams fans or anybody else whoever else is a fan of these teams I'm talking about. I apologize. I just got to say how I feel. I can't stand domes. And another thing, the Niners were running the division. For the longest time, the Niners were running that division. So it was no fun playing the Falcons because I knew we were going to beat them. It was no fun playing the Rams because I knew we were going to beat them. It was no fun playing, the Saints because I knew that we was going to beat them. And then Carolina came into the league, and I hated Carolina because they would beat us. And I was like, we were running this division until y'all showed up. And then, of course, Atlanta had their run in 98. Then the Rams had their run in 99 and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, that's why I think I like AFC games a lot better, because if you think about it, every team or every division in the NFC has dome teams, and I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Even though they're beautiful stadiums, Cowboys stadiums, beautiful, I hate it because it's a dome. Arizona, out west, plays in a dome. You have the East with the Cowboys playing the dome. The South got the Falcons, got the Saints, dome. The Lions and the Vikings playing the dome. I can't stand it. Now, luckily, the Vikings, they play outside, but they're playing in that college stadium. So I have to see what the new stadium looks like. I know it's going to be beautiful and all that stuff. But whenever it's a classic game, because I love watching classic games, whenever it's like Packers, Detroit, I hope that it's in Lambeau. Not because I hate, I believe it was the Silver Dome back then. I like games outside. That's just that. I don't know, man. But that's going to wrap this thing up. Thanks for listening to me ramble and bamble for this 10-minute video. I appreciate it. But that's going to wrap this thing up. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, I enjoy bringing it to you. If you have a suggestion for a throwback game, leave that down in the comment section. If you have a suggestion for what Madden matchup you want to see next, leave that down in the comment section. I'm going to see y'all later. Peace. Hot sauce.